Hello, my name is the King of Yes, Temu Flats if you will. Today we're going to be reacting to a video done by Questron. He is a high rank Sombra player and he has put a video out there about an open letter to the Blizzard and the community of Overwatch regarding Sombra. And I want to get a couple things out of the way before I watch it. One being how I personally feel about Sombra and what I think is wrong about Sombra. So, the first thing is, personally, I have a saying in my community, all my homies hate Sombra. So that tells you a little bit about how I feel about the character. I don't like her. I think her design is really interesting. I think that her voice acting is phenomenal, and I think that her backstory is phenomenal. But the character's design inherently is flawed. That's how I personally feel about Sombra. She's a problem. There's something wrong with this character. The reasons why is because I don't like how in a game about abilities, she's the only character that can remove them with one of her own abilities. I don't like that if I'm playing a character, all of a sudden I'm unable to... I think I said she's the only one. I should say she's one of the only ones that can just remove them for a few seconds. And her ultimate, that's fine. I think for an ultimate ability, that should be an okay thing. I think for an ultimate ability, that's good. It's a good thing for the game, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with her ultimate that cancels out abilities. I think the problem lies in Sombra with that being on a short cooldown, if that makes sense. I'm not going to claim to be a very good player at the game, because I'm not a very good player at the game. I'm like gold. But I feel like I have good opinions, and I think that that's one of them. So that's how I personally feel about Sombra. And feel free to tell me how you feel about Sombra down below. And we'll see what Questron, again, a high-ranking Sombra player, we'll see what he thinks about Sombra and what he thinks, or what this open letter is regarding Sombra. So let's take a look. I didn't have my audio on. Oh no. Let's take a look.
Hello, I'm Questron. For the ones that don't know me, I am a high-ranked European Sombra player. I don't have a pro career nor any interest in even being in the top of the leaderboards. I just so happen to be high-ranked and then have fun by having fun playing well. I don't really have the character trait of taking things too seriously, which comes across as abrasive, loud, and to a lot of people annoying. Especially given that I play Sombra, really? I very easily get dismissed for these reasons. This is why generally I steer clear from being involved in topics that require credibility to be heard, like coaching or giving takes or suggesting what the developer should do. So before we go anywhere, I just want to kind of ask to be taken a little seriously. I know it's
Godspeed.
It's rich coming from me of all people, and I get that wanting to dunk on Sombra players is fun and funny, but I genuinely think Sombra can be solved in a way where both people playing Sombra and people playing against Sombra come out happy. The more you hate Sombra, the more it's in your own best interest to be on the same page with me here. So
he's 100% right about that. If you hate Sombra, you want to see Sombra changed, you should be on the same side as other people who play Sombra and also want to see her changed. That's how he's 100% right about that.
Oh, hear me out. Sombra is a problem.
Screenshot it. Send it to all your homies. Sorry.
This video is going to go over why that's the case, how it came to be, and what I think should be done about it.
Okay, so we're gonna follow his same principles in what we talk about as well. I should probably move my face cam because I'm gonna put myself in the corner down here because he's right here and I don't want to block him. Okay, let's go.
That my entire online identity is directly tied to this hero. I get why you think this video is intended to sway public opinion into not hating Sombra, but I'm gonna be real here. I think the hero ban situation isn't shocking at all. I get it, and I did see it coming from a
I'm a tank, hazard, and queen main now because they keep banning Sombra and my skill rank is silver to plat. Crying in lower ranks because Sombra gets banned 11 out of 10 times. Thank you for blessing us with some fine Sombra gameplay. How are you the only one that got little bans on Sombra? 4 out of 17 games. I can't lie. personally, that makes me happy to see, and I don't really think I like that much. Because I think in the past, I know I have a saying, all my homies hate Sombra, but that's just because just the removing your abilities is the big problem for me. And I said that earlier in the video as well. But like, it's not like I hate the character and I want the character just to be removed from the game. Even if I said that before, I probably was just joking. But it's like I want the character to be good, but not annoying, if that makes sense. Because right now she's just annoying. And nobody likes to play against annoying. People like to play against, even if they're like overpowered, you can be overpowered and still be fun. Hazard was an example of that for me personally. I think he was a little broken when he first launched, but he's fun to play. Sombra is just annoying and strong, if that makes sense. That might be a bad take, but like, nobody likes playing against annoying, and that's why she gets banned a lot. It's because she's annoying.
Mile away. My issue is with how disingenuous the conversation regarding Sombra is from both sides of the aisle, forcing whatever future Sombra has into guaranteeing someone losing out big time. The conversation about Sombra is generally very divided into hard lines. Either you're a victim to Sombra or you play Sombra, and both sides have very different perceptions on why they're upset and how to fix it. I, being the contrarian that I am, disagree with both. In recent discussion, people playing Sombra generally just say skill issue, and that Sombra gets banned less in higher ranks. People victim to Sombra say that her kit is inherently toxic and needs to be reworked into not having the major components in her kit that she does, turning her into a support,
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of feel more on that second side, but I don't want her to be like useless. That's just not fun, because then it's a waste of a hero slot. If she's useless, it's a waste of a hero in the game. You know what I mean? And I don't want that. Nobody wants that.
Moving stealth, that's where all that stuff is brought up. To put it blunt, I think everyone's absolutely out of their damn minds. Respectfully, Sombra players are out of their damn minds because, well, have you seen r/Sombra mains? They're kind of just assholes that so happen to be playing Sombra, gloating at how they have fun directly at the
Widow kill as Sombra list. Oh my gosh. Anyone else have a Widow kill list? That's insane. 7 deaths to swap, 1 death to swap, 4 deaths to leave. That's insane. Super. Wait, Super left. That's insane.
Expense of anyone in the enemy team, with no signs of sportsmanship in sight, and getting giddy
so many
for being called slurs.
There.
It's weird. There isn't a single other hero in the game that has that type of player. Sojourn players revoke fun passes on a real-by-real basis just as hard, if not harder, than Sombra. But they find joy at the kill, not some sadistic, I hope he's pissed about that. The problem with this is that in actuality, they're playing Sombra wrong just to do this. Spawn camping, for example, as Sombra, I do just about as often as I would on Soldier 76. It's inefficient, and doing so is at the expense of your own actions per minute and impact in a fight. I'm being genuine when I say that playing Sombra without emphasizing her toxic traits genuinely lets you win more often.
He's not wrong. It doesn't help you out, but that doesn't change the fact that people do that on Sombra. That's how people play that character a lot of the times, and especially in lower ranks where I happen to be the king. So it doesn't change the fact that that's how people play the character, and I know he's kind of still talking about that, and he's not defending that, or he's not saying that that's... I know that's not exactly what he's talking about, but that doesn't change. What he's saying is true, that it's not helpful for your team, but it also doesn't change the fact that that's still how some players play.
Let me rephrase. Not actively being a dick makes you win on Sombra. And on the flip side, the people victim to Sombra, they say that her kit is inherently built on toxic gameplay traits and has to be cut into little pieces and disposed of, which is just absolutely ridiculous to me because Overwatch is special because of the developer's capability of pulling off nonsense. It's genuine art.
He's not wrong. That is true.
And it's the main reason why I love it so much. Take, for example, this comment here. It hits all the talk.
Let's read it. This doesn't fix the fundamental issue that Sombra is a character whose kit is nothing but annoying mechanics. See, I was talking about that earlier. So he's kind of, I feel called out. I'm kidding. Annoying mechanics. Her overall strength doesn't matter because she is so annoying. Everyone would rather delete her from the game instead of banning meta characters. You cannot give a character the ability to disable enemy kits, but they still can be balanced and not hated by the community. I don't have a problem with her invisibility. This is what I have a problem with. The disabling abilities. That just feels annoying to me. You can give a character a great get out of jail free card without counterplay, and they can still be balanced and not hated by the community. Although I feel like those characters with one ability that is a free get out of jail free card, those are the characters that people don't like a lot. However, you can't have all these abilities on the same character. That's the problem with Sombra. It's too many frustrating mechanics on the same character. If she only had one or two of those mechanics, she wouldn't receive nearly as much hate, but all three combined, and it's no wonder she's been consistently the most hated character in the game for almost a decade. And knows how many reworks.
Talking points. But this is where, take for example this comment here. It hits all the talking points. But this is where it gets weird. Because, well, sure, Sombra has the ability to disable kits, but so does Doomfist or Orisa. Being slept by Ana or pinned by Reinhardt also count. Plus,
Yes, let's talk about this for a second. Let's see if I can get a pause.
Or pinned by Reinhardt also.
Right here. The problem is... this is the only one that's even close to that, to what Sombra does, because Ana can sleep you and then still damage you. With Orisa, you get hit by a one-time stun and then you're out, right? Either you're dead or you can get away, right? That's the difference there. With Doomfist, same thing. You're either dead or you can get out. With Reinhardt, you either die to pin or he dies in pin, or he doesn't pin you to a wall and you can get away, or you die. I guess it's the same with Sombra. I mean, it's close, but it's not the same thing, because what Sombra will do is remove your abilities, and then I don't know what I'm talking about. I might be coming to a realization that this is true. I guess what I'm saying is Sombra hacks you, removes all your abilities for about a second, and then in that time she's virused you, and then she has sprayed you with her gun. And I'd say probably 75-80% of the time she kills you that way, if it's a good Sombra. And then she hacks you, gets a lot of damage off, and then she just gets out of town. Right? The problem with Reinhardt pin is that he pins, and then either he kills you on the wall, or he kills you right after the pin, or he doesn't hit the full pin, but then he's right there in front of you. And he doesn't have a good get out of jail free card because he's just used his only escape method. With Ana, you sleep and then you throw a nade, or you get your teammate to go help you. Which requires at least two people, or you have to use all of her cooldowns, right? Because she only has the sleep dart and the nade, and then she doesn't have a get out of jail free card. And with Orisa, she javelins in and it knocks them back, and usually, unless they're low, the javelin's not going to kill, right? So they'll live most of the time unless they're low already, which means that they've already had to commit a lot of resources to this person to kill, or they worked as a team, which was more than one person. In Doomfist, same thing as Reinhardt. Either he gets the kill or he's up close and personal with the person, and he's got his dive to get out. So I'd say Doomfist is probably the closest to Sombra. But that's the problem with Sombra, is that she hacks. So let's say this is hack. She hacks, viruses, and then either she kills the person or she's free and runs away and is invisible for a while. I guess that's what I'm trying to say, is that she there's not as much of a commitment for her to either get the kill, because there's not as much of a danger for her, because either she gets the kill and she's safe, or she doesn't get the kill and she can teleport out.
Being slept by Ano or pinned by Reinhardt also count. Plus, every character that can kill you. Being dead and respawning is a good way to not let someone play the game, but it's because of the role and context of their kit that make it okay. It's not a perfect comparison to Sombra because for starters, she's a DPS, and I don't necessarily think this excuses it, but the understanding of the premise that context and execution of design in Overwatch means that everything has a solution. Sombra as well. We all hate one-shots and think they're bad. People call for one-shots to be removed from the game entirely, but Tracer's Pulse Bomb is a one-shot. It's an ultimate, but it's used like an ability. Whiffing it doesn't even mean you directly lose a fight, unlike EMP or Genji Blade. Now, invisibility being toxic, I somewhat agree with. I have plenty of videos where I go over the premise over and over again. It's related to the...
Even he puts in his thumbnail, though, why she can't be balanced. I mean, I get it.
Core principle behind why I've always told people to stop hacking health packs. When it comes to getting out of jail free cards, hell, Tracer's recall is way more of one than Sombra was even before, back when you...
It is, and Tracer's also a problem with that.
Could put Translocator on a health pack. Recall does not require prep work, has no cast time, heals you without needing a health pack, repositions you away from where you were in danger, and it doesn't even have a net.
Yes, but the problem with that as well is that if you can trace where the Tracer was beforehand, you can tell where she's going to be. With Sombra, you can follow her. She throws her translocator, and you can follow where she goes, but there's no telling after the animation of her translocator is done, you can't tell which direction she's gone. That's a part of the problem as well.
Negative connection to her general mobility either. It's a fully separate cooldown. Sombra's get out of jail was comically overkill by going across the map, but achieved the same premise. Sombra was hated, Tracer hasn't had any significant changes since 2017, and people are happy about that. They praise it even. I should probably say that I have no issue with Tracer here. I don't want changes to Tracer. The main point is that the nuance exists, and to have a healthy discussion, we need to acknowledge the double standard. One-shots are not inherently a problem to people. Get out of jail is not inherently toxic.
Is he trying to compare one shot? So he's trying to compare one shots to Sombra, as in they're both annoying mechanics. I don't have that much of a problem with one shots, and I don't really think they're that big of a deal. I don't think they have that much of an I mean, they have a big impact on the game if you can hit your headshots, but like, even still, that doesn't change the fundamentals of the character, because you can just make it so that Widow or Hanzo doesn't one-shot. You can just change that one damage buffer, right? Change the headshot multiplier from like 2.25 or whatever it is to like 2, right? But with Sombra, if you change her translocator, I don't fully understand that comparison, if I'm being honest. But the comparison to Tracer's recall being annoying, and her pulse bomb, let me rewatch, because I'm not entirely sure I understand what he's trying to say. And I did pause a lot, so let me just take a step
Tracer's
back.
Pulse Bomb is a one-shot. It's an ultimate kits, but so does Doomfist, Orisa. Being slept by Ano or pinned by Reinhardt also count. Plus, every character that can kill you. Being dead and respawning is a good way to not let someone play the game, but it's because of the role and context of their kit that make it okay. It's not a perfect comparison to Sombra because for starters, she's a DPS, and I don't necessarily think this excuses it, but the understanding of the premise that context and execution of design in Overwatch means that everything has a solution. Sombra as well. We all hate one-shots and think they're bad. People call for one-shots to be removed from the game entirely, but Tracer's Pulse Bomb is a one-shot. It's an ultimate, but it's used like an ability. Whiffing it doesn't even mean you directly lose a fight, unlike EMP or Genji Blade. Now, invisibility being toxic, I somewhat agree with. I have plenty of videos where I go over the...
Maybe I'm stupid, but I'm not understanding the comparison here. So if he's is he comparing why Sombra is hated to why one-shots are hated, and how they have a solution? I think that's what he's trying to do. But even still, Tracer's Pulse Bomb is an ultimate ability. He did say that. Which means it is used like an ability, but it has to be built up, unlike Sombra's, where she can just throw her translocator. Let's just keep watching.
Premise over and over again. It's related to the core principle behind why I've always told people to stop hacking health packs. When it comes to getting out of jail free cards, hell, Tracer's recall is way more of one than Sombra was even before, back when you could put Translocator on a health pack. Recall does not require prep work, has no cast time, heals you without needing a health pack, repositions you away from where you were in danger, and it doesn't even have a negative connection to her general mobility either. It's a fully separate cooldown. Sombra's get out of jail was comically overkill by going across the map, but achieved the same premise. Sombra was hated. Tracer hasn't had any significant changes since 2017. And people are happy about that. They praise it even. I should probably say that I have no issue with Tracer here. I don't want changes to Tracer. The main point is that the nuance exists, and to have a healthy discussion, we need to acknowledge the double standard. One-shots are not inherently a problem to people. Get out of jail is not inherently toxic. It's the context of the character's kits that make them tolerable or not. This applies.
That's a fair statement.
To Sombra. Calling for her removal of her elements in this way is not a solution. Please stop making the same Reddit post over and over again in different wording.
What?
Of her elements in this way is not a solution. Please. Shots are not inherently a problem to people. Get out of jail is not inherently toxic. It's the context of the character's kits that make them tolerable or not. This applies to Sombra. Calling for her removal of her elements in this way is not a solution. Please stop making the same Reddit post over and over again in different wording.
Okay, so he was just saying that they shouldn't remove her abilities entirely. That's what he was trying to get at. And in that sense, I agree. But I don't know how else. I'm interested to see how else he wants to change Sombra and to see how he thinks that they should deal with hack, because hack is the problem for me.
There's a rule of thumb regarding Sombra. It's the one piece of advice that has applied to her since the beginning of her existence, and that is that the more you're using stealth, the more you're just proactively doing nothing. There's always been a direct inverse correlation between a Sombra player's rank and how much time they spend in stealth to set up for what they need to do. The skill difference between Sombra players is in managing that downtime as efficiently as possible to do the most amount of things. Sombra matchups are won not by directly hunting each other down. They are won by one doing more things than the other to the enemy team. It's the extreme inverse of Widow versus Widow matchups, where nobody can do anything until one of the Widows kills the other. Standing still for 30 seconds waiting for a Sigma to flux is not efficient. I made a video titled "We Have to Talk About Sombra, Will Her Rework Even Do Anything?" which essentially serves as a massive "I told you so" now. The problem was more blatant back before Virus existed, where permanent invisibility facilitated and allowed it to happen in the first place. This is why I violently disagreed with everyone when r/Sombra main said Sombra was dead, and that Sombra was gutted back when Sombra stealth was put on a timer and tied to her translocator. Her identity did not change. You just played her inefficiently on purpose up until that point and weren't able to do so anymore. The change allowed for more efficient pathing to set up, meaning you got to be in fights more often, for longer periods of time, all because stealth wasn't fully interruptible anymore. This direction change for Sombra is why I was so excited for the change, because I thought that it implied that moving forward, this would be the emphasis for balance for Sombra.
Okay, so in summary of what I've gathered so far, it sounds like what he's saying is the problem isn't Sombra, the problem is how people play Sombra, which makes it not a character problem, it makes it a user problem, and that's a lot harder to fix than just reworking a character, because you can rework the character 40 times, but if the way people want to play that character doesn't change, then it doesn't matter.
With the most recent batch of perks, I feel like steps were taken back and alarm bells are ringing. Combined with the amount of hate I already receive with every interaction I have with anyone, I now feel the need to seriously have one massive video to hopefully call for change to happen in the right direction. There's some people that want her to be reverted to early Overwatch 2, when she put up a new historic record of the lowest average win rate any hero or...
That's a wild chart. 30% win rate. Cassidy had a 46% win rate at the time? That's crazy.
across Overwatch 1 and Overwatch 2 had ever had. She wasn't less annoying, she was just bad. This solution reflects the same premise. Arguing that this is a good solution is not arguing for the sake of balance and design. It's vindictive under the guise of saying it's for the best and is at the expense of the people that just want to play their Sombra. It's dishonest and gets in the way of actually finding a solution. In the modern day,
Okay, he's not wrong.
as of season,
It sounds like he's saying instead of it being a Sombra error, it is a user error. People playing the character in the wrong way and wanting the character to be removed and changing her abilities to where she's just terrible to play the game is not the right way, and I agree with that. I don't know how you can fix a user error though. User error of playing the character without major changes to that character. I don't exactly know how I'll be curious to see what he says and how that's going to change the change it, you know? How he's going to what kind of things he's going to bring up.
season 15, we have
Perks.
perks help, generally speaking,
I
but
love
Sombra's
that.
Season 15 perks not only sucked, but actively sabotaged her gameplay loop. In Season 15,
kinda
for the
did.
first half, I was forced about half the time to not pick a perk. Kiriko gets a second teleport, and Tracer gets a full reset of her blinks, and Sombra has to not pick a perk. Not only does Sombra get left behind in the power creep,
What is this? Chad, I'm starting to think Sombra perks might not be as good as the rest of the DPS roster's perks. Sombra perks are terrible. The only win I got in these placements was against a Diamond 3 Sombra that picked the bad perks.
but this is made even worse because the perks that got added to her counters directly shut down the way of managing their duels. Against Tracer, you'd make her waste her blinks and have her recall by only using Virus or only using Hack to save the other one for after recall without blinks to get her at her least mobile. But now she gets those blinks back, which means essentially you have to just
They did change
1v1
that,
her,
though.
but twice. Against
I think.
Kiriko, seeing her enter somewhere via her teleport meant that she would either have to waste Suzu to save herself or die if you dove her. Now she just has another teleport. There's no window of opportunity type dynamic. It was just directly taken away. Not only that, but Sojourn was essentially a hard counter, given how versatile her burst damage plays out in game, meaning every dive I did needed to be a guaranteed kill and fast, otherwise Sojourn would quite easily chase me down and kill me. She can abandon her positioning from high ground and just get back real quick, unlike Cassidy, but with the burst damage of Cassidy. So the window of opportunity was smaller,
Interesting.
dives became more easily stopped, and Sombra was shit out of luck. This is where Stack
Yep.
Overflow was legitimately the only way Sombra would ever get a kill in that scenario, but it turned her into even more of a binary diver. Either your chance of killing someone is 100% or you don't go for it. The oppressive feeling of Sombra was exasperated because of this, causing them to remove this perk in Season 16, which is fair enough. I don't think it's healthy for the game, but hero bans means
Fair.
I can ban Sojourn, so I don't really miss Stack Overflow that much either. The problem still persists, however. A lot of people asked about my opinion since I made a big deal about it when we found out Stack Overflow was going to get replaced, but I realized I
I'm also
overreacted
here.
somewhat since I underestimated the impact of banning Sojourn. I really don't like what it was replaced with, but
What did he say? I did not catch what he said at all. They exchanged a perk that guaranteed Sombra to get in a limb to her direct counters with an 80% guarantee for a perk that lets you do 22 damage per second for 4 seconds every 7 seconds if you hit a virus every time it's off cooldown on a hacked target, but only in a radius of 8 meters. And he says, chat, I'm show more.
don't like what it was replaced with, but that's for later in the video. The main reason I made a stink about Stack Overflow leaving is because people don't realize the more fragile she is, and the higher the chance of who you dive escaping, the more
The way that just played out was kind of frustrating. I was not listening to what he said. I just was kind of annoyed that he just was standing there waiting for someone to come by so he could hack them. I understand it's the smart play to do on Sombra, but like,
fragile she is, and the higher the chance of who you dive escaping, the more risky her dives become, which places more pressure on getting the best bang for your buck. The only time she'd dive you is when she knows you're shit out of luck, making her feel significantly more oppressive than she actually is. Her
again, it goes back to that how characters feel about, or how players feel about the character, and how players play the character, because he's one person out of a community of people that play Sombra. And if the community of people that play Sombra think that she should be played as a only played as a counter to other heroes or to spawn camp somebody, then that's the problem, and there's an inherent issue with that.
Only mobility, cleanse, dodge, and the entirety of stealth is under the same cooldown of 7 seconds. Tracer has 5 or 6 independently usable blinks and a recall, assuming you get the perk. The reason she isn't hated is because she doesn't play in a way that makes her have to get value out of every engagement, unlike Sombra. You get to swat her away before she goes in for a kill. For Sombra, the moment she goes in at all, it is for the kill. The rule is you have 1 translocator per person you go for. No concept of...
And to be clear, there's nothing wrong with that gameplay style. It's just it's the way that makes players feel when they're going against it. That's the issue.
Genji's dash reset, no wall climb, no deflect, nothing. Do or die. All the while having 225 health, which is less than Genji and Sojourn, who both have vast...
And I'm a big proponent that Sojourn needs to be nerfed in the health department to 225 rather than 250 because she's more mobile than someone like Hanzo. She's far more mobile than that. And Hanzo got nerfed to 225 at one point. I think he's back on 250, but you know what I mean.
More mobility and lethality. For the sake of keeping us on the same page, in this case, mobility is assumed as mid-fight mobility. Like Genji's dash, Tracer's blink, Wrecking Ball's grapple, Juno's dash, Echo's dash in flight, you get the drill.
Put Wrecking Ball on 225.
Symmetra's teleporter is for this reason utility.
Just joking.
Not mobility. Even though Overwatch 1 Sombra had incredible utility, Overwatch 2 Sombra has more mobility. To visualize my gripe...
I'm sorry. I'll take it seriously. Timeline: blue, utility minus mobility. Purple is mobility. Okay. Colors are hard for me. And he chose the 2 that are exactly the same. These 2 colors look exactly the same to me. I cannot tell a difference, so I do not know what he's trying to say with this.
With how Sombra's been handled, assume all characters by design have 3 main points to them. How much those points are leaned in on is how impact unfolds. The 3 main points are lethality, mobility, and utility. I'm gonna skip explaining them because I don't want to put too much weight on a visualization of what I'm talking about to avoid arguing semantics. It's just to help guide, not genuinely some philosophical theory. Imagine the 3 main points all have their representing characters. Lethality being something like Bastion or Reaper, mobility being Tracer and Genji, and utility being someone like Mei or Symmetra or Sombra back in the day. Then Overwatch 2 came out, and Sombra moved from pure utility to somewhat lethal without a bump in mobility. From that point on, every rework was essentially adding more and more hoops to jump through to do the same slightly too much amount of damage, slightly too fast. In Overwatch 1, the gun did the damage. Then later you had to hack someone first to do damage, then more later hit them with a projectile to do damage, then even more later you had to first hack them and then hit them with a cube to do the damage. And all the while, the major glaring problem still existed in her gameplay loop. Every dive was still do or die. No way to stall her survival out like with Doomfist block, Genji deflect, Mei's ice block, or Wrecking Ball's overhealth, but also no extra mobility to leave early like Tracer's blinks or Mercy's guardian angel. Regardless of how it happens, every dive ends up with someone dying, which meant...
So if I'm going to make a prediction about it, I think that he wants to see a way for Sombra to have more survivability in battle. So either he wants them to have more survivability in battle, he wants Sombra to have more mobility in battle, or he wants to see both. It's what it sounds like to me.
Her status was essentially either a hated hero or a useless one with no gray area, depending on whatever the most recent patch is at the time of conversation. If Sombra's output gets nerfed because it's overbearing at whatever point in history, then you can really only replace it with other things that need to be overbearing to fill the gap in value. Kind of like a power vacuum that keeps getting replaced with a differently colored power vacuum. It's a little side tangent, but this premise clicked for me when I was replaying Insomniac's first PlayStation 5 Spider-Man, and J. Jonah Jameson popping up talking about Kingpin being...
Give me more pictures of Spider-Man! Sorry. Sorry.
Gone, meaning there's a power vacuum because of Spider-Man, and the entire story is literally that playing out. This is why we have like 10 reworks under our belt. This means that whatever the problem in her kit was 10 years ago, it still is now. The community keeps attacking the direct output of the abilities, like how everyone complained Hack was broken, so Hack got nerfed from 5 seconds to 1 second in Overwatch 2. Translocator was broken, so it became short distance. Invisibility was broken, so it was put on a 5-second duration. And now we still hate her. The developers listened. You lot were just wrong for once. I'm sorry, but it's true by now. So, to put it...
So... he's given no solutions yet, okay? First off. He's just... throughout the video, it sounds like he's just blamed Sombra players and the community for why Sombra is the way that she is now. And in one sense, he's not wrong. But the other sense is the developers who were supposed to know the game didn't make the right choices for the character. So you can't just blame the players. You have to put accountability on all of them. And also, now let's see what the main, what his main solutions are. Let's see what they are.
It bluntly, it's my opinion that Sombra's direction shouldn't be facilitating downtime. She should be getting rewarded for her uptime. Facilitating downtime is how you get Sombra players spawn camping and all the stuff Reddit complains about. Sombra's gameplay should feel like she wants to be out of invisibility to get value, exposing herself to the risk of being shut down, and then that being okay to do so, because she never gets fully shut down, with the design of her kit implying she doesn't always need to fully commit, even if she doesn't get a kill or shuts down anything important. Her having 225 health, well, her only form of anything having a 7-second cooldown means there's a lot of pressure on every dive. That's how whenever she does anything, she feels overwhelming. Tracer is the opposite of this, where she has incredible mobility, which means she doesn't need much, if any, guarantee on every dive, which is why she never really feels overwhelming regardless of output. And before you're worried that I'm going to suggest turning her into Tracer 2.0, this also applies to Genji, Wrecking Ball, Doomfist, and plenty other heroes. The act of giving Sombra more mobility, survivability, or survivability through mobility does not inherently mean she's turning into Tracer. Looking into maybe decreasing the demanding nature of Sombra's dives is a good direction to explore. Control-Alt-Escape is an absolutely phenomenal example of this, and should be a cornerstone in how perks are thought about for Sombra in my opinion, leaving hack and oppressive stuff to more general balance changes. I still absolutely think stealth is a major load-bearing component to Sombra, so I don't want it gone. But to me, it exists in her kit in the sense that the better you are, the more efficient you are with stealth and the less you use it, but never zero stealth. In my ideal world, I'd have her two major perks function in the two main ways you have survivability in the middle of a duel. Either you get more mobility in a literal sense, or more direct survivability. Perk 1, for example, would be that the Translocator cooldown speeds up while out of stealth by 50%, promoting the usage of the Translocator itself, as well as promoting the lack of stealth, really doubling down on the aggressive way people can use the Translocator. And then the other perk would be Control-Escape, but turned into
Translocating begins Sombra's passive healing.
a major perk, where it triggers the passive self-heal when using Translocator without the 50% health requirement. Her self-healing would still stop if any damage was done to her, not to just have being in stealth mean you get healed. Then the minor perks can be more damage-oriented, like maybe the Area of Effect virus we have as a major, but nerfed to do less damage or have less range or have it not speed up on hack targets, or a combination of the three. I'm not a game designer and I don't have the resources to trial and error anything, so I'm just spitballing to paint a picture. Given that in discussion I constantly see a resurgence of the same couple ideas, I narrowed it down to 4 ideas that I could preemptively shoot down right here before it derails conversation when talking about Sombra with people that don't have thousands of hours on her.
Before he says these, here's what I think. So he says that Sombra should have more survivability and more mobility to enable aggressive playstyles without feeling like every dive needs to be 100%, which in a sense I agree with, but I don't think that addresses an underlying problem with how players who play Sombra think she should be played. And I feel like giving her more survivability in that sense only enables the players who play that way, i.e. spawn camping or hacking nonstop off cooldown to remove abilities. I don't think that addresses those problems. It definitely does address a lot of problems Sombra has, but I don't think it addresses the player issue.
This isn't meant to be condescending, but there's a disconnect in why people think people enjoy Sombra that you can't quite explain without being in the thick of it. So here they are. Here are the
Into the thick of it.
4.
Let's listen. Let's look. Let's take a look. A second translocator. The existence of a punishment window when Sombra uses a translocator is a core element of decision making. Giving a second translocator would remove that window and absolutely make her just Tracer 2.0. The exact element in her kit is the driving force of her real gameplay. It's the motivator for how you approach the enemy team. A second translocator in theory would help, but at the expense of her identity, not worth it. Agreed. I think a second translocator would just help increase the oppressive nature that players feel about Sombra already, and also would not help with the way players play it, because then they would spawn camp and they'd have way more outs. The way players would play the game would be different. Well, it would enable more of that kind of play style, is what I should say. Separate stealth button. This would force the return of damage on stealthing her, making her way too fragile, meaning she's forced to set up by slower and safer means, longer detours, and the likes. Bad gameplay. Agreed. I also think that's bad. Perma-stealth is just a problem in general. And I would hate that. So... Placeable translocator on a timer. The motivator for wanting this back is the existence of an escape that's more reliable, consistent, and Sombра's problem is how binary her presence is in fights. Having her more often in and out of fights depending on the cooldown and the timer of her translocator does not fix their issue. No, it doesn't. And if anything, a placeable translocator again would also promote more of the bad gameplay that she already has in the player problem. I think the problem with Sombra is not that she's a bad character. It's the way people view that character and how that character should be played in their mind. And that's more of an issue than the way she's played right now. I think the problem is players, at least where I'm at in Overwatch, a lot of the time, because I'll do this too. If I'm having a lot of trouble against the ball, or if I'm having a lot of trouble against the Doomfist, or against the Widowmaker, or against a, well, not Orisa anymore, or against a Reinhardt, I might pick Sombra because I feel like she's the character that can stop them from doing the things that they're doing and make that person have a bad time. I've done that before. Is that how Sombra should be played? No. But is that how a lot of players play that character? Yes. That's the inherent issue that Sombra has. It's not that she's a bad character or that her abilities are bad. It's that the idea of the players, that a lot of the players have who play that character, that's the issue. Support Sombra. The philosophy behind this wanting an out of sight, out of mind, not a solution. I know Doomfist swapped roles, but his gameplay loop did not change. They bumped up survivability and increases uptime in the fight rather than quick kill and leaving like Sombra. True. I don't know how support Sombra would work. Like, they hack and it heals? I don't know about that. I think that's a bad change. Reset translocator on kill. The problem is that the guaranteed requirement of a kill is too high as is. Chronologically, needing a kill then being allowed to survive at all with no means would only increase the BS factor of how Sombra gets in a limb and then leaves. It would not result in chain kills given her kit being about the surprise factor unless a ground up rework happens, and I don't think she needs another rework. That's not going to fix anything, which I don't think is needed. Exactly. I didn't even read the next sentence. The suggestion is not solid enough to call for a rework to justify it. Reset translocator on EMP. This is kind of a skill issue. Sombra does not need a translocator reset upon using EMP. Didn't he call out people earlier in the video for saying skill issue? For wanting to make changes? Anyway, he might not have. I think the way that you need to fix Sombra as a character is you need to find a way to reset the mindset of the players playing that character. Whether that is by promoting positivity about the character on your social media platforms and hoping that does something, or if that means shifting power in her kit to something else. So instead of her hack being a thing that reduces the or that disables your abilities, maybe it's instead something that, like, maybe they can keep that. I don't know exactly what I'm trying to describe, but I think what I'm trying to think is maybe instead of it removing abilities, hack instead reduces passive self-healing, or it I don't want to say antis, but you get what I'm trying to say. Maybe instead of just it being the only purpose of it is to eliminate abilities and to make it so they can't run away, maybe instead you shift the power of that into something else, is what I'm trying to say.
You can pause the video. Maybe if your idea is between this, hopefully that answers my response. Decreasing the all-in, all-out nature of Sombra's dives doesn't inherently mean give her more mobility either.
I do think that he is right about that. You need to you need to change the way she plays enough that she doesn't need to feel that, so that players who play against her and players that play her don't feel like that she has to get a kill every single time.
The reason Control Alt Escape is an absolutely phenomenal example of this is because Control Alt Escape grays out the black and white in and out by giving her the risky option of partially re-healing up the damage she took from the dive she did and stick around instead of having to entirely give up to go to a health pack that's across the map. The change in direction from a combination of lethality and utility slowly shifting towards mobility means a decrease in lethality. Decreasing Virus's cooldown but at a way lower amount of total damage would be a good start, but honestly it's a trial and error based balancing system. Maybe Hack loses its damage boost, or Virus's impact damage doesn't get amplified on Hack targets, only sped up. Who knows?
See, shifting, it's kind of what I was saying before. Shifting the power of certain abilities in her kit to something slightly different is kind of, I think that's what Sombra needs more than a rework. She needs power shifted of her abilities so that she feels less oppressive to play against and less intense to play as Sombra.
But also important is that she regains some more utility after losing damage.
Exactly.
One thing I miss from Overwatch 1 isn't even something people really thought about, but that hacking itself should be situational. As it is now, every single hack has some form of excuse. Whether it's damage boost, virus boost, visibility through walls, an interrupt, there's always a value. Back in Overwatch 1, if an Ana used her nade and sleep dart, a hack's lockout was shorter than the cooldown. If you hacked Ana while those were on cooldown, you gained literally nothing out of it aside giving away the element of surprise. I think at the very least, damage should not be tied to hack, with some kind of buff that the developers can trial and error their way.
That would be wonderful if damage was not tied to hack, because right now you have to hack and then virus and then shoot to get the most value out of Sombra. If hack was something that was separate, that didn't provide any other beneficial value, that would be great.
Way to find to compensate. I did not like it when Overwatch 2 launched and was disappointed they brought it back in the recent rework. So, in conclusion, I think Sombra in each of her reworks went in the right direction, but the further in balance it went beyond each starting point, the more she got dragged back into why people hated her. And I can't even blame them to think we need another rework. but I don't really think so. Blizzard,
I don't think
we've tried an emphasis on utility. We've tried an emphasis on lethality. I'm suggesting that while we hug the wall of utility, we piece by piece exchange lethality for mobility and uptime till we hit a sweet spot. If Tracer's all the way mobility, maybe like a quarter of the way to that, the foundation in the Translocator being what it currently is laid the groundwork for a solid mobility-centric iteration of Sombra. One that we've never seen before. One that people wouldn't make the most banned character in the game. That being said, thank you for watching. That's the end of my yap session. If this video gave you some new insight or perspective, please consider sharing it around or using it as a reply in conversation about Sombra to get a ball rolling, to maybe get some meaningful change to happen, to fix the most hated character in Overwatch history without taking her away from those that like her.
Yes. So shifting the power scale of her, shifting the power from her kill potential to other things, I think that's what Sombra really needs. And I agree, that's what he said, and that's what I agree with. And that's kind of, that's the problem with Sombra right now, is that she's just not fun to play against because she's so oppressive and so hack-centric that they need to shift that power into something else. Anyway, that was another video by Questron. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, and go ahead and join my Discord in the bio below, or in the description below. And go ahead and follow me on Twitch. Come join me on Twitch. I'll be live about an hour after this video goes up. And I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Join me on twitch.tv. We just got new emotes. Woo! Anyway, go ahead. Hit that like and subscribe button. Peace. Temu Flats out.